Hiya 3, happy Monday. I hope you enjoyed the equivalent fraction unit last week. We're going to continue with that this week, okay? So today we're going to be finding the simplest fraction, okay? So our question is, a cake is cut into 12 pieces. So this is our cake here, okay? Ruby has 3 pieces. Ravi has 4 pieces. And this girl over here has 2 pieces, okay? So can we figure out what fraction of the cake each person takes? Okay, so let's have a look here before we move on. We know that Ruby has 3 pieces out of the 12 altogether. So that's 3/12. Ravi has 4 pieces out of the 12. And the other girl has 2 pieces of cake out of the 12. Okay, so we know that 3/12 is what Ruby had. Okay, but if you have a look here, our 12 pieces have been split into 3 parts, okay, and split into 4. So we can say 3/12 is the same as 1/4, okay? Because if you have a look, we've got our 3 out of our 12, and our 12 is also being split into 4. So 3/12 is the same as 1/4. Okay, so we can say 2 things. We could say Ruby has taken 3/12 of the cake, or we can say she's taken 1/4 of the cake, because that is the same thing. As you have a look here, 3/12 at the top here is exactly the same as 1/4. Okay, they're equivalent fractions, they're the same. We just put it into its simplest form. So over here, Ravi takes 1/3 of the cake. Okay, so he's now, if we have a look, we've got his 4 pieces up here out of the 12. And now we can say that 3 also goes into 12. So 4/12 is the same as 1/3. Okay, can you see that this cake's gone from 12 pieces to 1/3? So Ravi has a 1/3 of the cake. Ruby has 1/4 of the cake. Ravi has 1/3 of the cake. Okay, so this girl here, we know that she has 2 pieces of the cake. So if we split this into now 6, we can say that 2 pieces is the same as 1 out of 6. We've got 6 altogether. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so we've got 1/6. So if we have a look at the fractions, if we look at the maths behind it as well, if we look at Ruby's fraction of the cake over here, she's gone from 3/12 to 1/4. If we think about our math skills here, what math did we use to work this out? We can say how many 4s go into 12. Well, if we did our 4 times table, 4, 8, 12, and use our piano fingers, we know 3 4s go into 12. So if we divided this by 3, we're going to get 4. If we then, remember, whatever you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top. 3 divided by 3 is 1. So we've divided that by 3, and we've realised that 3/12 is the same as 1/4. Okay, so what about over here then? If we have 4/12, how many 3s go into 12? 3, use your piano fingers and count with me. 3, 6, 9, 12. So we've done 12 divided by 4 equals 3. Whatever you do to the top, you have to do to the bottom. So 4 divided by 4 equals 1. So 4/12 is the same as 1/3, okay? And we've used our division skills to help us find it in its simplest form, okay? We can say 4/12. It's always good to see if that fraction can go any smaller. And it can go to 1/3, okay? So we've gone from 2/12 to 1/6, okay? we can't make 1/6 any smaller because it won't work. So there's no more numbers that can go into 1 or 6 equally. Okay, whatever you do to the top, you need to do to the bottom. So we can just say Lulu takes 1/6 of the cake. Okay, so let's think about our guided practice. Write each fraction in its simplest form. Okay, so last week we were just counting, and the week before we were just counting how many parts were shaded and how many we got all together. So here we can say that we've got 6 parts shaded, 2, 4, 6, and we've got 9 squares all together. So there's our fraction. But this fraction can be simplified smaller. Okay, what number does 6 and 9 both go into? Okay, it can't be 2 because 9's an odd number. How about 3? Let's do our 3 times table. 3, 6, 9. Yes, so 3 goes into 6 and 9. So let's divide 6 by 3, which is going to equal 2. And whatever you do to the top, you have to do to the bottom. So divide 9 by 3, and you get 2/3. Okay. Now I can show this on my diagram here. I can make my 6/9 into 2/3. I'm now going to split this into 3. I might actually use my square to help me here, so we can really clearly see the 3 parts. So I'm going to have 1, 2, 3. Okay, and we can see now, I'm going to use a different color. Let's use red. If I have 2/3 shaded of my 3, okay, then we can see now that that is the same. We can see that it's the same as 2/3. Okay, so you can show it this way, or if we undo that all, so that's one way to show 2/3, or we can show it this way as well. Okay, so that's going to be, we can split our squares into 3 parts. 1, 1, 2. Can you see that I'm also splitting this into 2/3, and then we've got our 3. Okay, so now let's move on to the next part. 4/12. So what number goes into both 4 and 12? Well, we know 2 does. Do any other numbers go into 4 and 12? Obviously 4 does as well. So 4 divided by 4 is 1. And then what's 12 divided by 4? Let's do our 4 times table. Get your piano fingers out. 4, 8, 12. That's right. We've got 3. So that's going to be equivalent to 1/3 in its simplest form. 4/12 and 1/3 is in its simplest form. Okay, so now what about 4/10? Let me change my colour. So does 2 go into 4 and 10? Well, it's in the 2 times table, so that's right. We know that 10's not in the 4 times table, and we know that 5 isn't in the 4 times table, so let's stick with 2. So 10 divided by 2 is going to be 5, and then 4 divided by 2 is going to be 2. Okay, so then we have 2/5. I'm just going to draw a line down here, isn't it, like 22/5? Okay, we have 2/5. 4/10 is the same as 2/5. It's just been simplified. What about 4 and 6 again then? So let's try. We know that it can't be 3. Even though 3 goes into 6, it doesn't go into 4. So let's try 2. We know 4 and 6 are both in the 2 times table. Okay, so 6 divided by 2 is going to be 3, and 4 divided by 2 is going to be 2/3. Okay, so that's in its simplest form. So just to recap, okay, if you look at this diagram here, these fractions are exactly the same, But because the larger shape is split into a different number of segments and sections, the fraction is then shown in a different way. Okay, so we can say that 4/12 is equivalent to 1/3 because 4 goes into 12 and 4. And we can see 1, 2, 3, and it's been split into the 12ths as well. 3, 6, and 12 are all in the same times table, so it can be simplified. Okay? If you're a bit confused, please watch the video again and have a go at today's tasks. Okay? There's some good BBC bite-sized videos as well. If you want to have another look at them, that you can have a look at, that might also help you. All right, good luck. Please email me if you have any problems. Bye.